everyone. It's Paul Feldman, InsuranceNewsNet, and I'm excited to be here at the ITC 2024 conference with one of my favorite clients and somebody I really respect in the industry. He's been a contributor to our magazine, Matthew, CTO, LIDP. So Matthew, tell us a little bit about what your company does.
Absolutely. So at LIDP, we do policy administration for the life and annuity space. So we've been in business for 45 years now, coming up on 45
Wow.
years. Yeah, so it's been a long journey. Personally, I've been with the company for coming up on 12 years. And so over that time, I started doing software development with the company, came right out of college. So this has been the industry I've known for my entire career, and then worked my way through enterprise architecture and now the CTOs. A lot of good stuff.
So we're at the ITC conference, right? A lot of AI, a lot of technology happening here. Tell us where you fit in with the whole gamut.
Absolutely.
And where do you see it going?
That's a great question. Yeah. So, as CTO, I get that question all the time, right? AI is everywhere. It's ubiquitous with modern, new and up and coming technologies. But, we also have to remember that, it's a tool, right? It's something to be used within our industry. And certainly we see it a lot in the underwriting space, right? Those areas where it's really difficult for our clients to, do what they need to do in order to get that income coming in, those policies sold. So we see it a lot in the underwriting space. We see it a lot in the illustration space, right? As I'm going out and as our clients are going out and saying, hey, we've got an agent in the field, we've got this brokerage. How do we get from, talking to Paul to getting Paul being a policyholder? So, how do we use AI to solve those problems? That's really common within the industry. Something that I see that's a little more of an edge case, but is still really cool from at least a back office perspective, is how do you create and define those products, those plans, right? Today, it's actuaries spending a lot of time in Python, spending a lot of time scripting in Excel spreadsheets, trying to figure out what numbers work. But AI can be used to really simplify that process so that they can start making more robust and advanced decisions while they're designing and building out these products. And so Titanium, our core policy admin platform, has had these, we call them plan file, these rules for defining what a product is within the system since our inception. And so we're starting to use AI to help the actuaries and those product experts build out, well, what does a product need to look like? What is something that Paul's going to want to buy when they go out to that marketplace? So by making that easier, we're allowing our clients to say, well, let's go to market sooner and faster with something that, the marketplace wants, that their clients want. So a lot of fun.
So I'm going to ask you a question.
Of course.
Because I see a lot of AI at this show, or
Absolutely.
companies that are saying AI, but there's a lot of BS
Flavors. Absolutely. Yeah.
in AI, because as a programmer, if A plus B equals C, that's not AI.
Right. There's flavors of AI, right? There's machine learning, and that's where we go from A to B equals C faster, right? That's a more effective, how do we get, obviously that's a simple solution, but right, how do we use that more effectively, right? The thing that is blowing up right now is Gen AI, right? The generative AI, where it's becoming more conversational, and it's going through these decision trees behind the scenes for that human level interaction, right? So generative AI is great for, the client space, is what used to be chatbots, right? Those kinds of things where it's like, I want a more natural interaction. But right, AI is just kind of that all-encompassing, term that people just kind of throw around, where I'm suggesting we use it from like the product development perspective. It is more of the machine learning data analytics, right? Understanding the patterns that we're seeing. What is selling? What has been selling over the last decade, 2 decades? How can we use those models to identify trends of what, maybe we could come up with a product before the industry even knows they want it, right? Before that, so we can be the first to go to market with that product, right? Because that's our whole shtick. That's what we want to do, is enable our clients to be the best, vendor, or the best, policy, life insurance, annuity, right, that they can be. And so, that's where I'm still more on the machine learning, like identifying pattern side with AI. But like I said, there's a lot of flavors to it.
So what's the coolest thing that you've seen, or where are you guys going?
Yeah. So we do a lot, like I said, with the product development. And I think that is really our niche because of the functionality we have within our system. It's just so dynamic and so broad. The owner and CEO, the president right now, Bill, He's still at the company. He still comes in every day, so it's a lot of fun seeing him. And I think we did some crazy math one time where it was like, okay, well, all the configurations that we put into the system, what would it actually look like if we were to try and combine every possible configuration for every possible plan? And it was some like quintillionth number of all the possible configurations. There's no way a human would ever be able to sift through all that information, build these plans, test out all this different functionality. It's just, there's too much configuration within the system. But now when we start using AI and when we start using some of these models to say, okay, well, these are the rules, here's all the rules, what makes sense to combine them? Because sometimes it doesn't make sense to say, hey, well, let's put this certain rider for this person, the certain age range. Well, that doesn't make sense. But we could start using those tools, those models to start identifying, well, what does make sense to put together? Let's test those. Let's build out something that's unique in that sense. So it's been a lot of fun to, again, coming from software in the background myself, to play around with that is just phenomenal. So much fun. Absolutely, yeah.
So in your product development, do you guys have a sweet spot? I mean, you're not doing every single type of product.
Yeah. So we do a lot. Realistically, we do, whole life, term, all the flavors there, participating, indexed, and all sorts of flavors of annuities. We've got a small health block on one of our clients, even though that's not what we're typically known for. The system is just so flexible, we can do some of these things. So annuities are probably our bread and butter. That's where we kind of, hit the home runs. But those simple products, when you just want, hey, let's get a term product out. We want to add some flavor here. Let's get that out. We're turning around and getting products out there in, weeks or months instead of, years, which is super exciting.
So Matt, one of the things that we talked about was your partnerships in the industry. And I think that's really important.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about your partnerships, how you're working with associations, carriers, and distribution.
Absolutely. So, we are policy administration, right? So we're the core of most, life insurance carriers' back office. But we don't do everything, right? We don't do payment processing, right? We don't do document management. So part of my role as CTO too is figuring out partnerships. Where does it make sense to, come out into the industry and say, you know what, you go with Titanium, you go with LIDP, and we already integrate, with all these suites and all these other offerings. So it's a lot of fun to come to things like ITC here, where I get to meet and partner and talk about what partnership looks like with a lot of those vendors. When we look at partnership, it's not necessarily a, compensation-based thing. It's, what's the best in the industry? What is a payment processing, platform our clients are going to want to use? And the way I like to look at it is, what I want to use it, right? Do they have an experience that I would personally enjoy? Not even just from a development perspective, because I see that a lot, and especially from the tech side. I see APIs and RESTful-based web services, and I read JSON files and all this stuff, and that doesn't help the end consumer, but what would it mean if I had access to that certain type of portal, right? So one of the things that I like to look at when I come here is what are those partnerships?
Yeah, the one thing I think about this conference that's really different than other conferences, you go to LIMRA, it's life insurance.
It's life, right.
And it's interesting to find other businesses which are also in the insurance industry.
Definitely.
Like property and casualty, like all the different lines that go with it. Like what they're doing, and how does that apply to your business?
Right.
So I find this conference fascinating to me to be able to learn.
Definitely.
And not from outside the industry, but from inside the industry.
Yeah.
Although it's a little bit different.
Absolutely, yeah. And we partner with LIC, so we go to LIC every year, right? The Life Insurers Council, really life focused, really focused on content and introductions and networking, right? Excellent. Right, we were just at LIMRA Annual a few weeks ago. Amazing show, a lot smaller, but again, a lot more focused, right? I'm talking with people who do life and annuities on a day-to-day, When we come here, you get a lot of the folks from PNC that are like, oh, well, it's just life, we could do that. And then, we start getting into the complexities and the details. They're like, oh, that's complicated. And so it's a lot of fun when, I get to talk with those folks. Because like I said, a lot of it carries over. There is a lot of overlap with what PNC can do from an ecosystem base to what life insurance needs from an ecosystem base. And it's interesting over the years, I've gotten to see the kind of trends in technology that come in through the property and casualty space. People are using, the State Farm app or the Geico app, right? They want to do immediate claims on their phone. They don't want to leave their device. Well, how does that then translate into life insurance? we've seen our clients, right, the trying to like, mimic what that experience is, because that's what the policyholders are expecting now. They're expecting an app. They're expecting something simple and a couple clicks.
It's like transactional.
Right. That's what they're expecting.
Like underwriting shouldn't be
weeks,
6 months.
Right, exactly. And that's what they're expecting. And then they come into the life space and like, well, now I've got a doctor's visit. Now I got to go do blood work. Now I've got to go do this, that, and the other. And it's, they don't like that experience. And so one of our goals within, with Titanium is, how do we simplify that process, right? We have an underwriting workbench. Great. How do we get to that jet issue perspective? How can we use, tools like AI or even just normal, workflow tools to simplify that process so that we can get it to that point where a client could go to their phone, click, yep, that's the policy I want, and then kind of set it and forget it. Right? They set up for a monthly payment plan. It's just one of their bills now, right? And now they're covered. They've got their life insurance, and our clients are making money. So it's a lot of fun to talk with the vendors here at ITC, because they're like, we're not in the life space, but we can be. Let's partner. Let's talk about that partnership looks like. And I just love having those conversations.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic conversation. And thank you for all you do.
Absolutely. Thanks, Paul.